what is going to happen to these children. That's what really affects me.
It was a safe environment and a home for girls with nowhere else to go. But budgets are to blame for shutting the doors. Good evening and thanks for watching. I'm Dan Klein. They've been housing young girls for nearly 15 years, but no longer. The Morningstar Girls Home has closed its doors. News Channel 18's Krista Henry reports that the need for a girls' home in Logansport is there, but the funding just simply is not. Krista?
Well, Dan, during the past several years, the state has slowly been cutting state funding for everything from education to health care. On that chopping block was also funding for the Morningstar Girls Home within the Emmaus Mission Center in Logansport. And officials say without the proper funding from the state, they weren't able to properly take care of those in need. The house is still furnished with beds, dressers, couches, and TVs. The only thing missing is the 10 girls that used to live here at the Morningstar Girls Home.
Cuts to social services that are really affecting the people who really need the help.
Executive Director of Emmaus Mission Center, Jason Mitchell, says this house was where young girls and their children used to be able to call home. But after the state slashed nearly all of their funding, Mitchell says they didn't have any other choice but to shut down earlier this month.
This wasn't something that we wanted to do as a board, but we felt that it was the right decision.
Mitchell says for nearly 6 months they were trying to make ends meet using funding from their other organizations within the Emmaus Mission Center.
It was very, very difficult to maintain that service, and we were having to take resources basically from our other parts of our organization, from the homeless shelter here, from our food pantry and thrift store, to try and make up that deficit.
But that deficit kept growing, and what they were able to do with such little funding was shrinking.
It's sickening for me to have to even take this step, but I believe it's the right step because we risk losing the rest of our organization if we don't do this.
Now, Jason Mitchell did not have an exact figure for the loss in funding, but guesses it was about $8,000 a month or roughly $100,000 a year. He says he does not know where the girls and their children will now go, but he knows one girl ended up in a temporary psychiatric ward and her child is now in foster care. Krista Henry, News Channel 18. Dan?
Thanks, Krista. Girls at Morningstar came from several surrounding counties. Jason Mitchell hopes the state will be able to restore funding for this service at some point in the future. He adds the center has talked about turning the home into a low-income transitional house for women and children, but nothing is set in stone.